I wonder, are we able to, at the end of the day, say that within Eastern Orthodoxy and within Catholicism, that the way we treat icons would be virtually the same? Or do you, on your end, do you view perhaps any differences there? What are your thoughts on that?
There's definitely a difference. Pope Benedict, in his book on the liturgy, he said that the West never fully accepted the Seventh Ecumenical Council. And he was right to say that. One of the things that happened is that in the West, they didn't have iconoclasm. And so they never fought the images. And so icons were never attacked in the West, but for the same reason, they also never developed a theological justification and theological understanding of the role of images. And so because of that, it's ambiguous. And that ambiguity is one of the reasons why it's not clear, like what these images, what's their role? Like how do they participate in the liturgy? And so, for example, like you'll meet Catholics that are extremely comfortable with venerating images, that'll kiss images, that'll rub them, that it will have gestures of veneration. Then you'll meet Catholics that are extremely suspicious about venerating images. And so it's because there isn't a theological understanding of how to act and how they are sacred. Whereas in the Orthodox tradition, there's a clear distinction which happens, which is that we venerate, let's say, the means by which God reveals himself in the world, and then we worship God. And so in the same way that we kiss the icons, we kiss the gospel, we kiss each other, we kiss holy things, because we reckon, like in the same way that in the Old Testament, they would bow down before the altar or bow down before the Holy of Holies, but our worship is attributed to God.
I do know people that would be, maybe kind of avoid doing those kind of venerating activities. In my opinion, I think a lot of that has to do with how Protestantism looks at Catholics as being idol worshipers, and them kind of, being really, kind of drawing back and wondering, am I going too far? Do you think any of that plays a role in venerating icons? The reason I think so is I had that issue when I came from Protestantism to Catholicism. Do you think that plays any part, perhaps, with some Catholics kind of drawing back when it comes to that kind of veneration?
It's possible, but I think it's also, the story is much bigger. Like it's a larger story. So the way to see it, for example, is to see that in the West, what happened was a kind of manifestation of extremes, like that really took over. And so you, like, for example, you have to understand that the Protestants, they were reacting to images of like naked God. Mm-hmm. They were reacting to like Michelangelo's huge Zeus-looking naked God floating in the air and surrounded by like teenage nymphs, and who is like touching Adam. Like that's what they were reacting to. And so it's like that's the difficulty, is that because there were these extremes, and so they were reacting to like Rubens' super eroticized images that are like this massive like flesh that is just like all these naked bodies, like, in the church. Right. And so it's like, so you have to understand how this is. And so different kinds of matters. Types of images exist too. Yeah. Like, are you going to venerate that? Like, are you going to venerate an image that is eroticized? Like, it's weird. And so it's like all this tension that kind of different kinds of atmospheres is basically what exactly.
You're saying.
And so all of this kind of laid itself out and created these extremes of like extremely permissive, very almost eroticized art, and then extremely puritanical, like no art, no images, no nothing, because we're afraid of this other extreme. And so it's like, that's the issue that I see in terms of like actual veneration. I think the biggest issue is that I think, let's say, yes, Protestantism, but also people feel like they don't have an answer, because I have an answer, right? And the answer is Christ. Like, that's my answer to people who tell me don't venerate images. It's like, I can show you why Christ not only makes that possible, but makes it important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that people need to maybe, if the Seventh Ecumenical Council was more imbibed in the tradition, then I think people would have an answer. Like they could say, I don't care what this person says. I know why this exists. Like I really do know. And it's a theological, it's not a compromise. It's not we'll let the ignorant people do this because it's okay. No, this is a theological distinction.